Good evening, friends, and welcome to another edition of Crime Time with DutyRon and Ed Wallace. We are two retired New York City police detectives and 9/11 World Trade Center first responders. If you like all things true crime related from the police detective's perspective, hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you'll get all things DutyRon. And this guy over here, where is he? Ed Wallace, when we go live or upload another video. Hey, tonight we're going to get into Rex Heuermann's, the Gilgo Beach suspect. What will investigators find? What can they find in his two vehicles some 13 years later? We have auto crime expert Detective Tommy. He's retired now. Can't wait to get him on, but how you doing tonight, Ed? What's happening down in Jersey?
Doing good. Just relaxing after a day of work. Blew off some steam today. I went to the range after work there. Had fun there. I came home, had dinner, had a little cocktail.
Nice.
I'm ready for the swing sweat.
Hey, swing sweat. We're going to get into a lot of conversation tonight. Joseph 8 to 15 is checking in from Kyoto, Japan.
All right. Hey, I loved Kyoto. Kyoto was fabulous.
Yeah, we have Dave, our good friend Dave in Osaka. He's in Osaka, Japan, and I know he goes
another place very good.
Kyoto quite a bit. You didn't meet him, but I connected you with Dave when you were.
Yeah. He gave me a great bunch of places to go eat when I was in Japan.
Hey Ed, so let's dive right into this. So the vehicles, he has a 2002 Chevy Avalanche Z71. That's the off-road package, and he sold that to his brother some time ago, and his other vehicle was a later model 2012. He kind of liked the Chevy Avalanche. South Carolina authorities worked with Suffolk County and this task force before Rex was taken into custody. They knew what the assignment was. They were on board and full, steam ahead, ready to help and ready to pounce on the property over in South Carolina. So Chester, South Carolina authorities were on board with the task force. They went in there, they seized this vehicle. We're going to show a little bit of footage from that. But Ed, without getting into it, tremendously here, because we're waiting for Tommy to link in with us. What kind of evidence could we be looking at basically here? Is the sky the limit? This guy's not a clean guy. He's a pack rat, as Rodney Harrison described. He's not a clean guy.
Well, I'll tell you, even if you got it professionally detailed, I have some tricks of the trade, which I'm going to hold close to the vest, for locations in the vehicle that even a detailer doesn't clean, that could contain DNA of the victims or multiple victims that were in that vehicle from 13 years ago.
And we think of Amber Costello because her boyfriend at the Babylon house that she was renting was the last person to see her alive, and she allegedly went out to meet Rex, allegedly in his green 2002 Chevy Avalanche Z71. So that's the thing, is that if this guy, and I'm a betting guy sometimes, I'll go down to Atlantic City and Vegas every once in a blue, but if this, I would bet like 500 on black, I would bet that Rex Heuermann didn't get a detailer to clean this vehicle. And even if he did, like you said, there's some tricks that you guys can use, and we're going to get into that in a few. But let's play this little piece for everybody to see and hear about the truck.
Truck towed from Chester County, connected to the investigation of a suspected Gilgo Beach serial killer, Rex Heuermann. Today, Channel 9 uncovered warrants showing the truck seized is a Chevy Avalanche, which could be a key piece of evidence in the death of Amber Costello, a North Carolina native who was one of Heuermann's alleged victims. Our South Carolina reporter Tina Terry spent the last 2 days investigating this and joins us with the latest.
Yeah, we pushed for the release of this warrant today. It shows that detectives searched Rex Heuermann's property here in Chester County, looking for key evidence in this murder investigation. Now, the court documents say that detectives combed through that property on Rippling Brook Drive in Chester Thursday night. The warrant says investigators searched the property for personal items that may have belonged to any of the victims, including things like their telephones, articles of clothing, jewelry, identification. They also sought DNA obtained through things like fingernails, toenails, animal hair, fur, human hair, and human skin fibers. The warrant confirms that detectives were also looking for and found a dark green in color 2002 Chevy Avalanche. Now, we were at the Chester County Sheriff's Office yesterday as detectives towed that vehicle away. They have said that a Chevy Avalanche is a key piece of evidence in the death of Amber Costello. A witness told police that she saw that vehicle at Costello's New York home before her disappearance. And that warrant here also says that that Chevy Avalanche had a South Carolina tag, and it was registered to Craig Heuermann, who is reportedly Rex's brother and lives here in Chester. We tried to reach out to Craig today, but a phone number for him was disconnected, and signs at his house say to stay away, no trouble.
So, Ed, we saw those signs at the house. It said no warrant, no entry. I wanted to get your thoughts on what this news reporter, Tina Terry, said about the things that they were looking for in that truck, specific into that warrant.
Yeah, well, they're looking for the forensic evidence of these victims inside the truck, not on the outside, inside the truck, to show their presence in his vehicle. The fingernails, toenails, skin, hairs, fibers, and apparently maybe investigation revealed that some of these women had pets. I don't know if he had pets, and because apparently they were looking for pet hair. So to try to link, as again, the Lacard's exchange principle, trying to link these victims to the interior of his vehicle. Right. And then he would have to explain this away. And I don't see physically how we could do that.
Right. And as we spoke before we went live, there's quite a bit of things that could be utilized. And the MVAC comes into mind, right? The MVAC type of device that we had the co-creator of the MVAC system on with us. I'm going to reach out to him because he would love to come on and talk about this. And if I was thinking straight, I would have had him come on with us tonight. But joining us from an undisclosed location is Detective Tommy. I'm going to wait for the thumbs up. He gives me the thumbs up. I'm adding him in. It looks like he's all ready to go. He's our auto crime expert. He spent 39 years, and he'll correct me if I'm wrong, in the NYPD. Tommy is an expert when it comes to all things crime related to automobiles. Tommy, thanks for joining. How you doing over there, brother?
Good, Ron. How are you? Hey, Ed, how's it going?
Hey, Tom. Congratulations on your retirement.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. So officially, you are part of the club, Tommy. You now are enjoying retirement, I think, since February or so of this year. So congratulations.
Thank you. Still trying to keep busy though.
Yeah, absolutely. So Tommy, I wanted to go to you because first, could you just give the audience a little bit of your background and your expertise when it comes to all things crime related to automobiles?
Ron, like you said before, 39 years with NYPD. 30 of those years I was in the auto crime division. 17 out of those 30 years in the auto crime division, I taught the auto crime school, which is a college accredited course on everything you want to know about auto theft and auto crime. I also am an adjunct at John Jay College, and I taught a course there on motor vehicle investigations. So I've been involved in a lot of things with criminal cases with motor vehicles, testified in over 100 cases as an expert on that. So that's a little bit of my resume.
Yeah, well, it's pretty damn impressive. We had you on the last time. We were talking about the Brian Kohlberger case. We talked about the missing
Right.
Gillian Mounds. We talked on a few different cases, and you had made a mention, and it stuck out of my mind. And I went over to your LinkedIn, and I saw the same mention. About 75% of most homicide cases, murder cases, involves an automobile. And here, the Long Island serial killer, arguably these Gilgo 4, but we don't know how far this is going to reach. This is with, recent events. We had a couple of other serial killers that we won't mention here, but this is a huge case, and it involves 2 automobiles.
Right, right. And that's the statistic that I threw out there. 75% of all crimes occur with a motor vehicle. That's not something I made up. That's an FBI stat. And if you want, I can find the resource for you. But it's in a couple of publications on that. And you got to think about it. Most criminals are arrested going to the crime or leaving the crime. And how you get in there, some kind of motor vehicle, whether it's a scooter, a motorcycle, a car, a truck.
Yeah.
So, you mentioned it, so I'm going to bring it up. You talked about previous serial killers and their motor vehicles involved with it. Think of the son of Sam. He was caught with a traffic ticket. Uh, uh, and this is very similar to this case. In fact, it's a little scary. Joel Rifkin, if those of us old enough can remember him, he Long Island, murdered many of prostitute, and how they caught him was he had a traffic infraction. He was missing a license plate on his pickup truck. Nassau County attempted to pull him over. When they did, there was a body in the back bed. So this is a kind of a scary similarity to this case also. You got a pickup truck and you got murdered prostitutes. So
I had 2 of Joel Rifkin's bodies dumped in New York.
yeah, crazy, right? So
Yeah.
I mean, you look at it and hey, listen, this guy is almost exact clone of what happened with that.
Yeah, and he did all of his dirty deeds in his basement. He lived in the house with his mother, but he told his mother never to go into this one room in the basement,
Right.
where he did all the torture and murder and so forth.
Yeah,
And
crazy.
and it sounds familiar, Tom and Ed, because Heuermann had 279 guns in his basement in a secret room.
Right.
So we look at these serial killers, and here Joel Rifkin had the basement room, and Heuermann had the same thing.
Right.
I want to play this little piece because it's just a minute or two. We were waiting for you to come in, but I just want to get some of your thoughts on what this reporter has to say about this car and what the warrant stated and what they were looking for. Tommy, I'm going to play it, and then I'm going to come back to try to get some insight from you on this.
Okay.
Serial killer Rex truck towed from Chester County, connected to the investigation of a suspected Gilgo Beach serial killer Rex Heuermann. Today, Channel 9 uncovered warrants showing the truck seized is a Chevy Avalanche, which could be a key piece of evidence in the death of Amber Costello, a North Carolina native who was one of Heuermann's alleged victims. Our South Carolina reporter Tina Terry spent the last 2 days investigating this and joins us with the latest.
We pushed for the release of this warrant today. It shows that detectives searched Rex Heuermann's property here in Chester County, looking for key evidence in this murder investigation. Now, the court documents say that detectives combed through that property on Rippling Brook Drive in Chester Thursday night. The warrant says investigators searched the property for personal items that may have belonged to any of the victims, including things like their telephones, articles of clothing, jewelry, identification. They also sought DNA obtained through things like fingernails, toenails, animal hair, fur, human hair, and human skin fibers. The warrant confirms that detectives were also looking for and found a dark green in color 2002 Chevy Avalanche. Now, we were at the Chester County Sheriff's Office yesterday as detectives towed that vehicle away. They have said that a Chevy Avalanche is a key piece of evidence in the death of Amber Costello. A witness told police that she saw that vehicle at Costello's New York home before her disappearance. And that warrant here also says that that Chevy Avalanche had a South Carolina tag, and it was registered to Craig Heuermann, who is reportedly Rex's brother and lives here in Chester. We tried to reach out to Craig today, but a phone number for him was disconnected, and signs at his house say to stay away, no trespassing.
So there you have it, Tom. I wanted to go to you on your thoughts on what they're looking for there. I spoke with Ed before you came on with us, but any thoughts on that report?
Well, what the warrant's for is, Ed's specialty. He would look for the hair fibers, etc. My side of it is linking the Chevy Avalanche to the observations of witnesses and any kind of electronic downloads that might be taking place in that vehicle. Unfortunately, this is a first generation Avalanche. The OnStar, if it had it equipped, would be very basic, and there would be no information for a Chevy Avalanche, 2002. But if I was investigating the case, I would definitely give OnStar a call and see if they have any records, connecting any kind of communication between the vehicle and OnStar. They keep pretty good records. I have used them numerous times. In fact, I called my law enforcement counterpart in General Motors and was speaking to him about a similar case I had years ago where we used OnStar to track the vehicle on a homicide. So I just think it's going to be very difficult, especially you're looking at a 2002 vehicle, which has traveled from New York all the way down to the Carolinas and who knows where else. And the amount of data that car can maintain over the years, I don't think you're going to get too much from any kind of download you do to that vehicle.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you because I did some research before we went live during the course of the day today, and I pulled up something from Chevrolet's promotion from 2002 when they introduced the Chevy Avalanche. And I wanted to play it for you so you could take a listen to what they were saying. I found it, obviously it's to promote their product and to also promote some of the new features. But they make a statement in here that OnStar started in 2001 in the Chevy Avalanche. And in 2002, it talks about some capabilities, Tommy, that I didn't know existed in 2002. So
it really is pretty amazing OnStar. Like I said, I dealt with them many a times, and they can pinpoint things.
Yeah, this is old footage, but I want to play it for the audience so these people can take a listen to what this promotional thing was.
Hello, OnStar. I'm in the middle of nowhere and I've got a flat.
I need to get flowers to my wife. It's her birthday.
I need to make hotel reservations.
I'm lost. I'm trying to get to a restaurant called Raphael.
Connect to virtual advisor.
Get my email. Get my stocks.
Get my weather.
Get my OnStar.
OnStar. One of the most exciting innovations in automotive history. OnStar. Service that can provide immediate help 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. OnStar combines a global positioning system, technologies, and professionally trained advisors dedicated to assist you to offer unparalleled safety, security, and convenience. Safety. If your airbag deploys in an accident, OnStar sends emergency help automatically. Security. If your vehicle is stolen, OnStar will work with local authorities to track it. Convenience. Should you need help finding your way to one of over 6,500,000 service listings, including ATMs, restaurants, hotels, and service stations, help is available. And information through OnStar's 2 new features, Personal Calling and Virtual Advisor. Personal Calling, nationwide wireless cellular service. Virtual Advisor, personalized internet-based information while driving. Both offer one-touch access, are hands-free and voice-activated.
So, Tommy, I'm not going to let it keep going, but this was what they're talking about with the 2002 Chevy Avalanche. And I looked up the Z71, which is the off-road version.
Yeah.
It had this package in it. Now, again, as you said, 2002, fast forward to now, we're looking at quite a bit of time. But it's alleged that he utilized this vehicle with the last victim, Amber Costello, and that was close to 2010. So it wasn't like it was a real long time ago that he was using this vehicle. And with that infotainment system within this OnStar package, you talked about when it asks you to download your contacts and you say no, it still downloads.
Yeah, still doing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
All those things they talked about, and once again, you're absolutely right with showing the ad. It does do all those things, but if you look at them, most of them are real-time things. It's I want to check my stock. The guy goes, I want to get a hotel room, etc. These things aren't really stored. That might be within the car's computer, if you know what I mean. Like, hey, listen, I'm asking for a stock quote. Somewhere in another location is on a computer looking that up for him and relaying that information to him. So there might be something that OnStar holds. I don't know how long they hold it for, and of course, there might be warrants necessary for OnStar to release any information regarding that vehicle. But there might be, dates and times, and hopefully those dates and times are geo mapped so they would know the longitude and latitude these calls are coming from within OnStar itself. And I would think that would be the best kind of direction to go in, rather than, hey, listen, let me look at the infotainment system, because once again, you're looking at a vehicle that's 2002. The amount of data that can store is limited. So if he does use this OnStar system, the system will rewrite over itself in the infotainment system, but OnStar might have records of it in centrally stored based on the VIN number.
So I'm showing the vehicle, Ed and Tommy. This is the actual footage, shot from South Carolina as the state police came in to take the truck. It looks like it's what a horrible picture. It looks like it's in actual pretty good shape for a 2002. And it has some type of apparatus on the top, because he talked about being a duck hunter and so forth. So, Ed, I don't know. I know you're an expert with these trucks and with like apparatus like that. Or Tommy, could you say what this rigamarig is on the top? Is that for equipment and so forth?
Well, I've never seen it before, but it could hold some kind of water vehicle, like a kayak or a duck boat if he's a duck hunter. But one thing I noticed is it really is in good shape. He loved someone loved that truck, because most of the 2002s that I know, especially the Avalanche, has rust problems. So it looks in great shape.
So when they were doing the mapping, as you see here, the Google Earth map, when they drove down his street and captured his truck, it didn't have that on there.
Right. Yeah.
So
maybe his brother added it.
Yeah, I mean, it could be for I don't know, is the brother a contractor or something like that? Could he be putting ladders or other construction equipment up there, or hauling pipes or whatever the case? Or it could be a duck boat. Can we get another image of it, because that looks
Well, that's his newer. That's the
That's a
2000.
newer one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's going to have all the tricked out technology in it, right, Tom?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's the one. Like I said, would be better than the 2002. This, this one would have. This one would be digital. I believe it was 2012. They went to Bluetooth, so that would be in that vehicle. So you would have phone call registry, hopefully, in that vehicle.
Right.
I don't know. Maybe it could be an overlander type situation where he had like a camping tent up there.
Yes, retired first detective was saying that in the chat. It could be. This doesn't have any bearing on what we're going to be discussing, but again, I have two experts here. Ed, crime scene unit detective. First grade. Both of these guys are top notch. But the main concern here is obviously the first vehicle, the old vehicle, but also as equally concerning is his new vehicle, because as we know, he was still reaching out, as per the task force, to sex workers, doing those disgusting searches, communicating online. He went on a date allegedly with a prostitute in 2015. She's all over the news, telling everyone about how he creeped her out. So this guy didn't stop his sexual rampage and perhaps arguably his murderous rampage after Miss Costello went missing and then came up as murdered. Tom, if you had to put these two trucks in order, which would be the most important to you? And I know they're both equally as important, but as an investigator, which truck would you go after first to get the information?
I would go after the 2002 first, because I believe they had a witness who actually describes the vehicle during one of the homicides. Hey, listen, this guy was driving a pickup truck. And I believe it was the start, of the investigation. They kind of narrowed it down to a certain area and then looking for a certain type of vehicle. I've done that 100 times, if not 1,000 times, looking for a vehicle used in a crime and trying to figure out, where it's been seen and what location it can be found in. So I think the 2002, I would gather as many witnesses as I can to kind of say, hey, listen, is this the vehicle that you saw when you saw him? And I guarantee, because it's such a distinctive vehicle, you're going to have people say, yeah, that's that's it. Especially with that upper quarter panel trim that it turns like
by
a
the
kind
bed.
of. Yeah, it turns like a gray. What other vehicle has that? Even
No.
you look at the Toyota Ridgeline has something like it, but it's not. It's part of the body, not like that. And
Okay.
it's very distinctive. A Chevy Avalanche when you see one.
I
And
think it's a
then
Honda Ridgeline, right? Honda Ridgeline.
yeah, Honda Ridgeline, right?
Yeah. I always
And
thought these vehicles were ugly.
yeah, it's
It wasn't my cup of tea.
Right.
Yeah, I was. Believe it or not, NYPD has one. We used to use it as a training vehicle, and we had a trap in it, and we trained. Cops how to find a trap and stuff.
Yeah.
And ours kept on dying. And the rust was horrible on it. But it had a basic. It was an older one, first generation. Had a basic infotainment system. The newer one I would do second, because the newer one, once it's secure, that it's going to hold that information, whatever in there, and then I would do a forensic download of the infotainment system and see what's recovered. Not only that, I'm going to reach out with warrants on both cars to OnStar and see what communications went back and forth and how far they go back. Once again, you're dealing with a private company, so I don't know how long they keep information, or how long they're required to keep information, or what information they actually do. I
And
think
the great part about this is they're in no rush. The perpetrator's in custody with no bail. So he's not going anywhere. They could take their sweet time, get as much information as possible, as humanly possible. And like you said, a GM is from what I understand, and you know better than I do, are pretty friendly when it comes to the law enforcement component. I mean, Ed's laughing about it, but I think that
Yeah, no, the reason I'm laughing is I contacted them to get blueprints of a vehicle's interior, and they wouldn't give it to me without a warrant.
Yeah, everything's a warrant.
I got it though. I got it from a CAD developer who developed CAD cars for architectural drawings.
Yeah,
and he just did it himself. He scanned the interior of a car and he turned it into a digital version for us to use in the CAD program. So, but I couldn't believe it. I contacted them and they said, "Give me a warrant."
Gentlemen, I think we can all agree, though, that getting the warrant is better for our case, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Just give it up.
Well, I'm not looking for. I mean, yeah, but I wasn't looking for the specific information about the perpetrator's car. I just wanted a general blueprint of the vehicle.
Right. Just so you can draw up something or
make a court presentation.
Yeah, unbelievable. Go ahead, Tom.
I know the law enforcement liaison for General Motors, and this guy is unbelievable. You can call him, and in fact, I have done it at 12:30 at night, and I'm going to him. Hey, listen, you got to help me out, and he's not even part of OnStar. I go, trying to get through the OnStar, trying to locate a vehicle, and he's like, all right, like you said, give me a warrant, and I'll give you whatever you want. And we got a warrant, 1 o'clock in the morning, sent it over to him. OnStar has an investigative unit, that just does investigations, and boom, here, the car's right here. It's in Jersey.
That's great. That's great stuff. It's good to hear that we have that type of cooperation. I'm sure this task force, whoever they're contacting, are doing everything that they can within the letter of the law to help them out. So as far as we're concerned, the 2002 green Chevy Avalanche, digital data is going to be very limited. I wanted to ask you about the OBD computer, the onboard computer that you told us the last time with Kylie Rodney in I believe it was the Accord or the Honda CRV. Thank you.
Yeah.
Honda CRV. Thanks, Ed. It only goes back a certain amount of time, and once you travel a certain distance, it
gets rewrote. Yeah, right back over it. Yeah.
So that probably would not be in any way, shape, or form any help. But when we go to Ed with the forensics and collecting evidence and data, this guy, as we know, is not a clean freak. He was described by our former member of the service, chief, Police Commissioner Rodney Harrison, as a pack rat, and he was being nice. He didn't want to call him a hoarder. He was being politically correct by calling him a pack rat. But this guy's house is in shambles. I don't think that his car is going to be any better. It's probably not cleaned under the seats. These girls all shed hairs. And if he had multiple women in that car, sex workers, ladies of the night, whatever listen, I get crucified every time I make these mentions. But if he had these girls in his car, the chances are, and Ed talks about this all the time, the car exchange principle. You go in somewhere, it doesn't have to be a crime scene. You can go into some location, you're going to leave something, and then you leave, you're going to take it with you, right, Ed?
Well, yeah, and he obviously took his wife's hair onto these bodies. So several bodies had his wife's hair, and then they had his hair on one of the quote unquote burlap duck hunting screens.
Right. And look, our good friend Jeff from Wyoming, he pays attention to what we're talking about all the time, Ed. He says the cabin air filter is probably stuffed with goodies.
I pulled many a cabin air filter, okay? And also the engine air filter, not just the cabin, but the engine as well, because that collects a lot of pollen, a lot of dirt, a lot of, so that you can get various locations, even insects.
Yeah. Becky Barnes says there's plenty of DNA to be found in that vehicle. And Ed said this in the top of the show in the beginning when we started, no matter how good you clean the vehicle, even if he hired a professional cleaning service to come in and clean it, things are going to be left behind. And cars, especially those types of vehicles, these Avalanches, I'm going to show the interior of it. It's a flat bench seat, but it's got sections where things can kind of go down. One of the
Absolutely.
detectives I work with in Warrants, Tommy, when we shared a building with you over at Creedmoor, over in off a hillside in Winchester,
Yep.
he had a 2002 Chevy Avalanche, and it was blue. And we used to always make fun of it because we thought it was the ugliest car, well, truck, pickup, whatever you want to call it. But we always broke his chops. But it's funny because he's 6'7", 335 pounds. And he said, this car is good for me because it's big and I can fit.
Yeah, it is big interior.
And you talk
What car was that?
The Avalanche.
Oh, the Avalanche.
Yeah.
So it was one of my team members, Jay. I'm not going to blow up his name and dox him, but Big Jay, we used to call him. He's 6'7", 335 pounds, and he worked right downstairs on the second floor with me in Warrants, and he had the exact same truck, same year, but blue instead of green. And we used to break his chops, and he said, because of my size, this thing is perfect for me. I could put the seat all the way back. I could load stuff into the back bed. Let's talk about the newer vehicle, 2012. I didn't do a lot of data pull on it. Like I only concentrated on this 2002. Ed or Tommy, did you guys do any research on the 2012 with capabilities?
Well, in 2012, OnStar went to Bluetooth. So you're going to have a lot more information based on that. And the OnStar unit also, I believe it was the year before, maybe 2011, it went digital. So the amount of information that can be stored is a lot more than prior to that. So, download information, either from OnStar or from the infotainment system is going to be greater in the 2012. One of the things I was looking at with the Avalanche, since it's kind of such a unique vehicle, what is my numbers here? About 24,000 were made in model year 2012. And, you look at 2000, the 2002 model. Even though they say 2001, the 2001s were actually the 2002 model, and that number is close to 90,000. So just sort of the sheer fact that the 2012 you have less of them, it might be more visible to somebody who might have seen something and said, oh yeah, I remember that type of vehicle in this location or with this person. So I think the 12 will definitely be more realistic in finding some kind of information from the infotainment system or from OnStar. But once again, it's the DNA, the other forensic things you're going to find in there are going to be, like you said, it's going to be compounded on top of each other because it's probably going to be a lot.
Right.
Yeah.
And we also talked too about the in previous live streams about how sloppy he was with his burner phones. Remember in the investigation, he was using the burner phone for evasion, right? But he was also keeping his private phone. He would shut the burner off and he'd leave the private on, and it would track him from his office in Midtown Manhattan back to Massapequa Park. So if this guy's that sloppy, I'm sure that he allowed either one or more of these burner phones or even his own phone, if he had Bluetooth on, boom, all of a sudden it connects to the vehicle, and now you got some stuff. So
and I got his burner telephone number embedded in the vehicle's computer.
Exactly. And how's he going to explain
Yeah.
that away? And
Right.
if he's got his victim's cell phone in that same car,
Same stuff.
and
Yeah.
it's connecting too via Bluetooth.
Yeah, touche. It's on.
Yeah.
Let's go to the chat because there's lots of people. There's almost 1,700 people here watching. Hey, well, let us know where you're watching. If you're new, let us know if you're new in the chat. But let's see where everyone's watching from: city, state, and or country. If you're outside of the U.S., I like to do this quick because our next segue is going to be showing you guys the bed in the back of the 2002 Chevy Avalanche. So let's take a peek at the chat and see where everyone's chiming in from. Manhattan, USA, says Arrow. Buffalo, New York, Titusville, Florida. Wow, Jacksonville, Florida, Cincinnati, Ohio, Denver, Colorado, Scotland. We got someone from Scotland. Thank you
And
for
the Bahamas.
wow. Look at that. San Diego,
Alba Gobra.
Indonesia.
All right.
Look at that. Nobi.
Yeah, it's Nobi. Hey, Nobi.
Hey, good to see you. Tom Cusinelli, one of our good friends from the NYPD, Stony Brook.
Stony Brook.
Yeah, Willow, Alaska, checking in. Tommy, look, there's people from all over the world watching.
How great is that? Yeah.
And people love to hear your input. Tom is a auto crimes investigator. He's retired, 39 years in the NYPD, 30 of those 39 years in the auto crime division. Where did you do your patrol, Tom? Just for shits and giggles.
Oh, my training was in Williamsburg when Williamsburg was bad in the back in the 80s. I should have bought real estate back then, and then they sent me to the 4-5 precinct in the Bronx. So I was in the Bronx for a while, and that's how I got started with auto theft. Auto theft was basically in New York City, 100,000 cars stolen a year. So my partner and I, we would sit at the movie theaters and just run license plates when people came in to watch the movie, and we would basically lock up somebody every single day. There was somebody out there.
It was so bad in the 80s. I had two Cutlass Supreme stolen.
Yeah. Easy steals. Yeah.
Yeah, because the Cutlass Supreme, the Buick Regal, and the Pontiac. What was the Pontiac? Grand Am, or not the Grand Am? Grand Prix.
Grand Prix.
Yeah, they were all the same body style, same engine parts, same everything. And
I had a 96 Grand Prix.
Yeah, they were all interchangeable.
Yeah.
And so back then, you had the Benzie box for your radio, so you can pull your radio out. You had the metal collar for your steering column. Wow. Yeah, and then you had the bar on the steering wheel.
You want to know a little secret with those vehicles? How my partner and I used to lock up people with who used to steal those Regals and the GM products. To start that vehicle, you would have to break the column.
Right.
And when you break the column, you're breaking the light switch that's on the left-hand side, and it would make the headlights stay on brights. So whenever we saw bright headlights on a GM product, it was always a car stop.
Oh yeah,
because we thought it was stolen.
Tom,
that's why you had that metal collar over the steering column.
Yeah,
and over the ignition, so you couldn't crack that metal.
Right,
that's absolutely right.
Yeah, there was the bar over the steering wheel, and then the column that went right over. Yeah,
but then there was the other one too, that you hooked the steering wheel to the brake.
Yeah, unbelievable. GEG says we could use you, Tommy. Someone stole a Maserati from my neighborhood recently. Wow.
Now I remember a commercial when this vehicle first came out, and they were touting the size of the bed. And they took an MG and put it in the back of the bed of an MG midget, right? They put it in the back of the bed of the truck.
Huh, interesting. Here we go. I want to play. This is the actual bed of the Chevy Avalanche, and they say that you can this section. This is the inside. He's in the back there, but this section right here where my cursor is 5 feet long. And if you guys remember, when it comes as it pertains to Rex Heuermann, I'm thinking of Brian Kohlberger. When we're referring to Rex, he fancied some of the short women who were under 5 feet, and this actual enclosed cargo area, you can fit someone up to 5 feet. Let's take a listen to the back part of this vehicle. And I thought it was important to show that because this was a long video. He did give a good overview of actually what you can do with those covers. I think there was 4 of them that go on the top of that bed. Right. You can put a 200-pound person on the top of those. They have a 200-pound load, so someone could stand on the top of the back of it. But with those panels in place, you could easily put human remains wrapped up in that burlap item that these girls were all found in, and secrete them in that back and drive out to Gilgo and do the dump. So this vehicle is definitely something vehicle-wise that you would use if you were going to commit such a heinous crime as he stands accused of. Tommy, any thoughts on, I mean, this was a newer model. This wasn't the 2002, as you could see, but it's the same dimensions. It's the
Yeah,
same thing.
2002 is the same thing, and like you said, there's 4 hard panels that go on top of that. So, and once you close the tailgate, they're locked in, so they're not coming off.
Yeah.
No one can take a peek in there, etc. And one thing that's interesting is, you say you did put somebody in the back. Now you can drag them out through the back door because you have access inside the vehicle to what's ever behind you if that centerpiece is down.
Right.
So, pretty interesting that. And like you said, there's a lot of area in there that you can kind of, hate to use the word bury somebody, but you bury somebody in there, that vehicle, and to, take them to wherever you want to take them.
Yeah. And I wanted to ask you, because I know that you kind of studied this stuff and you kicked this stuff around, but there was a report where a news outlet was saying that there's a possibility that he got in a boat, his duck boat, and rowed across. It just seems like so much work, and people are making that thing out to be, this is how he did it.
We covered this a couple times already. I mean, all right, think about this now. Okay, so he has access to a duck boat with another friend. They co-own the boat together. Okay, and I'm not sure if it has an engine or it's a rowboat. Most duck boats have an engine. Okay, like a little outboard that they throw on the back of the boat. Okay, and they're little skiffs. They're very low to the water's edge. These aren't real seaworthy vehicles. Okay. So he would have to go to wherever they're storing this, okay? And usually that's like, I have my neighbor's duck boat right now. I let my neighbor put his duck boat and the trailer that the duck boat's on in my lot. So you have to have a trailer, or you're going to need a couple people, depending on the size of the duck boat, to lift it up and then put it on a roof rack or a bed, inside the bed, or whatever the case may be. And then you got to take it to the water. You got to take it out off the truck, or you got to pull your trailer into the water to launch the boat. You got to get the body in the boat. If it wasn't already in there, maybe you could put it in there, whatever. And you got to do all of this without being discovered and looking suspicious. And if you're doing this out of duck season, so already you look suspicious because no one really uses these boats outside of duck season. And then you got to go across the bay to an area such as Gilgo Beach where the state doesn't allow you to do duck hunting.
Yeah, it just doesn't make sense.
It just seems to be too much time and effort and work, and then creates too much suspicion for those in the know about when duck season is and when it isn't, and where you can duck hunt and where you can't. And you're taking the duck boat out, whatever crazy time it is, so that nobody sees you, and nobody hears you start up the outboard engine to putt across the bay to get to the swamp area. Again, I go back to Occam's razor. Okay, typically the simplest of explanation turns out to be the truth.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Tommy, any thoughts on that?
No, I agree too. Just listening to what you would have to do in that event is just hilarious. Who would go through that effort? If you had a dead body, you want to get rid of it as quick as you can, because the longer you're in possession of it, more likely you're going to get caught. So,
right.
And most of this stuff happened in the middle of the night. Who's going to
Right.
Yeah. You see, hey, you want to stick out, that's when you do it. You know what I mean?
Hey, Tommy, in that early model Avalanche, would erratic driving trigger OnStar?
No, it would have to be airbag deployment.
Just airbag? Okay.
Yeah, it would be hooked up to the airbag system.
Yeah.
So if, I think there was actually a commercial where someone, got into a car accident and OnStar goes, "Oh, are you all right? Do you need medical
Yes, I remember that. Right.
Yeah,
And also in one of the Die Hard movies too.
Yeah, yeah, that's
I
right.
want to propose a scenario to my panel here and to the audience watching. Barbara Burnett, thank you for becoming a new member. And let me highlight that real quick. And thank you to anyone who's given super chats that we might have missed. Thank you for the support. I see Emily gifted out one of the memberships out there. Emily, thank you for being here. Very first channel member here. I want to propose, this is the Google Earth image. Everybody's seen this. This is the green 2002 Chevy Avalanche, circa 2010, 2011, I believe this is right now.
What does it say? What does it say on the
Well, here it says 2023, but
2011? It says it was done in November 2011.
there you go. So here's what I want to propose, and I'm going to go full screen with this. Thank you, Barbara, for being a channel member. I'll ask this question. I'll go to Ed first, and then I'll go to Tommy, and then we'll look at the chat. So is it possible, or would it be feasible here that he could have, if he killed one or more of these victims, and some of the reports that are out there, they're saying that at least one of these girls were killed inside this home. If he took this green Chevy Avalanche and backed it up to this garage door that's attached to the home, opened up the back hatch here in this driveway, backed up, as we saw Chris Watts put his two children and his wife in Colorado in the same type of fashion, right? In the middle of the morning, early hours of the morning, ring video doorbell, kudos to the neighbor for catching it. But what's the possibilities here of Rex Heuermann backing this truck up in the early morning hours or late at night when his wife was away? And we know he did all this stuff when she was away, in this driveway, putting one or more sets of remains in the back of this truck and driving off. Over to you, Ed.
It's a possibility, 100%. But if can he do it with that Jeep that's in the driveway that he has underneath that tarp? Can he get close enough to the garage door? Now, and again, how noisy is that garage door? To open and close. I got woken up one morning when I was sleeping in my house at 4 o'clock in the morning because two idiots decided to burglarize my neighbor's house right across the street from me, and decided to take a noisy muffler van and drive into his driveway, put a chain to the garage door, and rip the garage door off in a residential community in Staten Island, as if nobody's going to hear this. Okay.
I think he could back that car into that driveway easily.
Yeah, it looks like he may be able to get around it. Yeah.
Oh, hell yeah.
It's definitely a possibility, on the cover of darkness, try to do that and put that body in there. But to date, there's no evidence that he killed anybody in that house.
Absolutely. We're just, again, which we don't usually do. This is for the advantage of everyone that's here that likes to hypothesize and theorize. Tommy, you think that that's a doable possibility here?
Yeah, absolutely. You look at the size of this guy. Why even open the garage door? Just carry the body right out the front door. You back it in there. It's late at night. You got the thick hedges there. It's a quiet middle class neighborhood. He's not going to be worried about anybody seeing him. And he just wrap it in a blanket or something like that. No one's going to think twice. And like I said, how far do you really have to go off that, that entrance area right there to the back of the truck? No one's going to see you. And like I said, especially when it's dark.
Right.
And I don't see any outside lighting on that house either. So, how well is the area lit up?
It doesn't look like he's got anything in that. Like if it was my house, I'd have like a motion light at the over at the garage door and so forth, but he doesn't even have that. One of our good friends in the chat, who's a retired detective, Scott, he says, possible, not probable. Hey, listen, again, I'm not saying that this is what happened, but we do know that he is innocent until proven guilty, but he stands charged with 3 out of the 4. We're still waiting to hear about the 4th victim, Maureen Barnes. So the bottom line here is this is the truck that's in question. This is the location. And, they had to get there somehow. And his DNA and his wife's DNA We talked about the hairs and we talked about the technology, Ed. This to me seems like a very possible scenario, but we will hear more about it.
Well, he's got that hardcover over the bed. Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a four-door vehicle, and all of the victims were very petite. I mean, he could have left them in the front seat in the front passenger seat on the ground in the well there, or he could throw him in the back seat area. Could put him in the bed underneath that hardcover. There's plenty of places in this vehicle to deposit body.
And this has the tow hitch. It's got the Z71 badging on the side, which
Right.
is
So off-road matches, right?
right.
Wow.
Yeah, it all matches. So this is the vehicle that they recovered from South Carolina from the brother. We're hoping that the brother is similar in cleanliness as Rex is. Hopefully Craig and Rex share the same hygiene and is not well cleaning, cleaning their cars and so forth. But again, they got to do their work on this thing, and this could take a long time.
There's so many crevices in the seat cushions where the seat belts come out, the vents on the dashboard. There's so many locations where hair could deposit and DNA could deposit,
Right.
and there's certain other items in the vehicle that most detailers don't touch. That people that are in the vehicle normally touch and use, that could transfer their DNA to these items. So it's just going to depend on how thorough the investigator is tearing this car apart to look for every nook and cranny here to find hairs and DNA.
Yeah.
And
we hope that the girls, like, anytime my wife gets in a car with me, she pulls down the visor and looks in that little mirror thing to fix hair. Mm-hmm. So if they've touched that, sometimes if I'm cleaning up my vehicle, I'll see fingerprints on the actual mirror part. And obviously it's my wife's, so she's touching it. If this guy's not a clean freak and he's not cleaning things up, we could see stuff like that. I mean, these are not 100%, but these are all possibilities for evidence. I mean, Ed, you could go down a whole long list of things that could be recovered from that car. They talked about skin cells because we know our bodies shed skin cells all the time. Hairs, someone was cut, a blood stain that's on the panels of the door that never got cleaned. They're going to take this car apart, right, Ed?
Absolutely. Absolutely. This would be a good car for the MVAC. To work up on many of the hard surfaces and associated with the passenger side of the vehicle, the trunk liner, things of that nature, the back seat area. And then, you want to get into the cushions. You want to remove the fabric off the cushions. This is something, what I would do is you take it to a secure forensic garage, and I would literally take the car apart. I would bag all the seats and the cushions and the fabric together and get it into the lab and let the lab start to take it apart in the lab. Look at it first with forensic light sources, because your hairs and fibers would typically fluoresce at the various wavelengths of light. So then you could find those hairs and fibers. Also, if there's any body fluids there, many body fluids, seminal fluids, vaginal fluids, and sex crime related type fluids saliva and so forth will fluoresce. For blood, it won't fluoresce. It'll turn black in the presence of UV. Then you can start getting into some infrared photography. If you can't see something with your naked eye, you want to try all your non-destructive testing first, such as the alternate light source and the infrared photography and so forth, to see if you can find any stains that suggest blood or other bodily fluids. And then you go into your testing of whatever pops under those examinations. Now, once you start using chemicals, you start to become destructive. So again, there's a hierarchy into the way we do these examinations from non-destructive to destructive.
Yeah.
But again, you separate the fabric from the cushions. You look in the cushions. You see what gets absorbed into there, because basically these foam cushions are like a sponge.
So would they actually cut the cushions apart to see what's absorbed into those spongy cushions?
Well, you're going to look at the surfaces of the sponge first. If something was absorbed into the sponge, you're going to look at the surface. You'll find evidence of that on the surface. And then, if you want to, you can then cut down deeper into the foam to see how, well, what depth the material soaked into.
Right. All right. So I put it in the chat. Hashtag Tom, hashtag Ed, hashtag DutyRon. We're going to play this last little piece. You guys, please put the questions in the chat so this way we can look at it. I'm going to play this one last little piece, and we'll get to that question. Ed, do you want to answer that before we play this small piece?
Yes, too hot or too cold can be very destructive to genetic material you're looking to create a DNA profile. How many cases do we know of infants or children dying in the back of interior vehicles that left in there during the summer with the windows up, or even animals for that matter? Yeah, so yeah, it could definitely be very destructive.
Yes. So some of the folks are in the chat. Some people are saying goodbye. Some people are saying hello. Lieutenant Pete Pranzo is in the house. Hello, Lieutenant Pete from Street Crime. Great to see you. And Richella, thank you for being here. So let's play this. This is from this morning. As we know, the crime scene folks, evidence collection, have wrapped up at the Heuermann home in Massapequa Park. And this is just a brief 1 minute and change report on that. I'm not going to play the whole thing. Jesse Weber comes on to talk a little bit about more stuff. But let's take a listen to this. And Ed, I want you to talk about the false reporting on the bones. Let's put that to rest because people are still talking about it. Uh-oh. What's happening here? Could that be News Nation?
It's the DutyRon gremlin.
I had it before.
Well, maybe it's Tommy. Hold on. Let me pause him for a second. Ed, what's happening here?
Don't ask me. You're at the controls, Maestro.
Are you hearing the audio broken up?
No, it's broken up.
It was playing right? Okay.
No, it's broken up.
It's just in my ear that it's broken.
Sure. No, it's broken up. It's like a bad Chinese movie.
Could be even Glass has stayed on this story for us.
Was that coming through choppy the whole time?
Island.
Yes.
Oh my God. I thought you were saying it wasn't. All right. I think I think I fixed it by banging the table.
Their search at the Long Island home of the suspected Gilgo Beach serial killer.
The next step for investigators is to delve into the immense amount of evidence that was removed from this home. Rex Heuermann is charged with the murders of 3 sex workers, but he could potentially be tied to even more victims. Correspondent Sloan Glass has stayed on this story for us. She reports from Long Island.
Adrian, Markey, we have learned that no human remains were found, but investigators are still going through trace evidence taken from inside the home and the backyard. Now, for 12 days, we have watched investigators bring out boxes of evidence, and soon all media will have to leave this area. But first, we were given close access to the Heuermann home for the first time since we arrived here. And the home of the accused serial killer does not match the description of Heuermann at work: successful and detail-oriented. We are told his home was also full of clutter, extending the length of the investigation of the property. We also learned that 279 weapons were taken from the vault in Heuermann's basement. District Attorney Ray Tierney called the list of items recovered huge, but would not give specific details about what items were brought into evidence from the home or backyard. And we now know that backyard was excavated after ground technology picked up on disturbances in the Heuermann yard. DA Tierney says that he does not believe that this investigation will be limited to New York State, but under New York State law, Heuermann's DNA cannot be entered into the National DNA Database unless he is convicted of a crime. We expect to see Heuermann in court next on August 1st. Markey, Adrian.
So I wanted to say that Melanie Little, our attorney and good friend Melanie Little, is going to go to the courthouse in Riverhead on August 1st. So she's going to report back to us on what happened during that court appearance. But Ed, I wanted to go to you because, the Daily Mail and some of the other papers and outlets were talking about that they found bones in the yard of the Heuermann property. And there was even a video that was attached to this thing. And I'm going to play that video You and I looked at this initially, and when those reports came out, we were like, "Oh wow!" But you did make a mention, Ed, that it didn't seem right the way they actually collected what they were collecting. So, well, I'm going to show it, and then I'm going to ask you to comment on it. There's no audio to this; it's just going to be video.
Yeah, so this is what the Daily Mail was reporting, that they had discovered bones because they zoomed in on that rectangular cardboard type item there with those dark pieces of material on it. And they were saying it was bones. And, you know, at first glance, and I'm like, oh, okay, it might be. But, you know, given their color and their configuration, it looks more like some kind of rusted metal. But then, you know, after I saw their documentation techniques, it was like, you know, it's like one big overall, no individual photos with scales. And then they just dumped the whole thing in that big paper bag that he had. Now, if they were in fact bones, each one of those would be packaged separately and either in paper or more likely a cardboard box. We have several different types of forensic cardboard evidence box, all different sizes. And then you would pick the appropriate size box and put the individual bone in the box. You would never commingle the bones, especially if you're going to try to do an examination on the ends of the bones to see if there are any tool marks there associated with some type of implement or instrument or tool that was used to either cut, slice, or break the bone.
Right.
So you wouldn't want the bones commingling and hitting each other and you know, potentially causing damage to the surfaces that you would want to examine underneath a microscope.
Right.
So it's not bones.
Yeah. And when as soon as you saw them put that in that bag, the way they put it in, you were like, "There's just no possible way."
Let it play. Let it play. We could show them dumping the whole thing in the bag.
Yeah. So that would
And
be,
even if it wasn't bones, they shouldn't be doing that either.
right.
You know.
And
here we go.
this person's trying to do it solo, and then it was like, "Hey, could you hold that for me while I dump that?" Yeah. No. Now, it went into a paper bag. What could the possibilities be of what that could be, Ed?
Well, I mean, like I say, we normally use paper bags for any type of material that we're searching for DNA, right? Because paper breathes and plastic doesn't, so we don't. There was a question in there in the chat that asked about mold, and that's one of the reasons we don't put blood evidence inside of plastic, because plastic doesn't breathe. It heats up in there. Because when you have something that's decomping, right, if you ever did composting or so forth, there's going to be heat building up inside of this, right? And there's going to be opportunistic mold and fungus that could potentially grow inside of that plastic bag and eat the genetic markers in the materials that we're looking to get a profile from. So yes, mold and fungus can be detrimental to genetic markers on possible biological materials that we're looking to get DNA profile from.
So there you have it. And as you know, folks, this is all filled back in. The dirt was filled back in. Everything is put back the best that they could in place. There's some drone footage of after this is all done, but this is a pretty good view of the digging that they did. And there was more over here. I'm going to pause it for a second so it doesn't go away. Wait a minute. Hold on. So right here, this section, Ed, you and I watched them dig this up as well.
Right.
And then they dug over here. But this is all filled back in. People were saying in the chat, well, why didn't they look under this this little horticulture kind of...
Well, they moved it there. It wasn't originally there. They moved it from that location where you start highlighting, and they moved it over to the side.
Right. Right. So they used the ground penetrating radar. We saw that in the corner up over here by the storm cellar entrance. And they did a complete and thorough and
cadaver dogs.
Right. Cadaver dogs. The district attorney said that there was nothing of significance. That's preliminarily, you know, that's a preliminary thing because nothing has been analyzed. All of the things that they've collected still has to go to the lab, and that could take some time to...
Well, and they did say, I think they specifically said they did not find any human remains.
They did say that. They did.
Yeah. So that's why I'm going to Nomad. They did say that.
All right. Let's look into chat. Tommy, do you got another few minutes? I know I went over an hour.
No, I'm here for you, Ron.
So thank you, Tom. So we have Tommy Burke, and no relation to the disgraced Chief James Burke from Suffolk County Police. Let's get that out of the way, because Ed, we're going to get questions about that in the comment section. No relation. Tommy, esteemed NYPD retired detective with a fantastic career of 39 years of service. So thank you, Tommy, for your service.
Thank you.
Here, mail from Gina is asking a question, #DutyRon. How does the brother having had possession of the car potentially complicate the case? That would be for possibly you to answer, Tom. The brother bought the car some years ago from Rex Heuermann. Maybe he wanted to get rid of the car because of the memories, and didn't want to actually give it to somebody or sell it to somebody outside of the family. But Tommy, what's your thoughts on this question here?
Like I said, I'm the car guy. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at all the records. Did he bring this car when he had it into a dealership? Was the dealer maintained, or was it maintained by a local garage? I want to see where the inspections are, etc. I want to see if anything was fixed. Maybe that could give me a lead into something else. And now that the brother has it, the only thing I'm concerned about with it is, now the brother's using his phone, and now the brother's using his, is driving it, etc. So it's going to copy over a lot of the stuff that he had that was stored in the computer system. Not all of it, but once again, it's a layer that you have to get through to get to his stuff.
Now the car was purchased in 2001, 2002 model year.
The first one, yeah.
And he had it there until 2011 at a minimum. I don't know when he transferred it to his brother. The bodies were found in 2010. They were alleged to have been dumped between 2007 and 2010. So potentially he had this vehicle during this time frame that these victims went missing. The air filter stuff, the undercarriage of the vehicle. There's a lot of evidence that potentially was lost that we can't find. For instance, if we would have got the vehicle in and around the time of 2010, I go through the air intake system for the engine and swab all of that area, or even do a deionized water rinse of some of the piping, the tubing that leads the air to the injectors and the combustion components of the engine, to see if we can find pollen and indigenous plant life materials that are associated with Gilgo Beach.
Right.
Okay. And then, they could also pull plant life from Gilgo Beach and get DNA from the Gilgo Beach indigenous plant life, and then see if they can match it to his vehicle, the tires, the undercarriage, the air filters, cabin and the engine air filter, and then any of the quote unquote plumbing used to bring the air to the engine, and try those routes. Also the radiators. Radios are notorious for catching all kinds and all manners of types of evidence, whether it's pollen, dirt, insects, you name it. When you drive through those there, poof, bug slams into your radiator and now it's stuck there.
I want to bring up another good point, Ed, too, and I know you could talk on this as well, and Tommy, you probably will concur. In the newer vehicle in the 2012, they talk about closing out any unsolved cases outside of the Long Island area, New Jersey, South Carolina, Nevada. If in fact there were hairs and or skin cells and or any type of evidence from other cases that were that are unsolved outside of this general area or within this area, and they collect that stuff, that's an important thing, because I feel like that this guy did not stop. His sexual appetite did not stop. There was no turnoff for this guy, and I feel that based on his search history, when the task force was tailing him for 16 months, and all of his online activity, this guy had no on and off switch. So if they find, let's just say for argument's sake, and I caught this from the chat earlier on, if they collect evidence from say, more female hairs that are not either his wives or any of these victims, what could they do, Ed, to collect that and match it up to some of these unsolved cases out there?
Well, I mean, obviously, you're going to have to work it up in the lab and extract the DNA, get a DNA profile from it. You can, from microscopic examination of the hairs, you can determine whether it's a male or female. You can potentially discover race. And then you can see if there's any dye or hair colors in the hair. If it's fibers, you can tell whether it's synthetic or natural. And then you can do search. There's all kinds of fiber databases that you can look for to see, did DuPont make this fiber, and DuPont made this fiber in this color, and then this fiber was associated with carpets, or this fiber was associated with cushions for sofas, or whatever the case may be.
Right.
And then you try to link everything that you can, as much as you can, to try to identify the source and see what its connection is to this case.
Right. Somebody mentioned, and I highlighted it, but I let it go, so I don't know who it was. Is it unusual to confiscate firearms in a case like this? And we know it's 279. I believe the search warrant for the Heuermann home to the for his residence and outside was for everything possible. It was a full search warrant to take in anything evidentiary wise. And firearms, although these victims, we don't know for sure. They talked about strangulation, but we don't know if there's anything additional with these guns used in the commission of any other crimes. So they had to take all this stuff in. You think that they would just leave 279 guns behind? I'm not taking away from, that's a really good question. But yeah, as police, liability wise, you got to take that into custody either for safekeeping or for the evidence.
Well, no, each one of those guns will have to be operability testing conducted on them. Test fires will be done into a water tank. The cartridges will then be put into IBIS, the Integrated Ballistic Identification System, and searched in the national database to see if these cartridge cases show up at any other crime scenes throughout the nation. And then the bullets will then be put onto a stereo microscope and then examined and classified. Then they will also be checked against the national database. But I just wanted to go back to that one question that you just took away. I don't know where you got that information from. Once they swabbed the defendant after he was arrested for his DNA was put into CODIS. You don't have to wait to be convicted of a crime, just arrested of a crime, to have your DNA put into the database.
But Ed, this is where it gets confusing. The Suffolk County District Attorney on a news conference yesterday said that you can't put in New York State a person's DNA into CODIS until he's convicted. He said that in the chat. Who heard that? I heard it, I listened to it like 3 times. I was like, wait a minute. Is that
that's news to me? Maybe something changed. Okay.
I heard it. Yeah, I heard it.
Yeah, he said it.
Yeah.
He said it.
Like, unless he's convicted of a crime, we can't use it.
Yeah. So
you have unknown crime scene DNA that can go into CODIS, but you can't put known crime scene. That doesn't make any sense. Like
it was weird.
Yeah,
but
I mean, just think about.
You heard, like, Ron, you heard it too, right?
I heard it. Look, here's 2 people back to back. Police off the cuff, who's retired homicide detective sergeant from the city. Bill Cannon says the Suffolk DA said it wouldn't go into CODIS unless he was convicted. Melanie Little, the attorney, these are back-to-back comments.
When did that policy start?
I mean, I could play the news conference and we could listen to it, but I don't. Let's spare ourselves that. But he had to say it, and it was loud and clear. He said under New York state law that data, and he could be wrong.
No, he could be absolutely right. I mean, New York passes crazy laws, and maybe this is just a New York law, because I don't believe that it is a requirement of CODIS to to put a genetic profile into CODIS. Okay, this could be just a New York State thing, or because of the very nature of how liberal we are.
It's disgusting if that's the case.
That's crazy.
But you can do, but like in this case, we didn't need to put him in CODIS to do our comparison. We have the DNA profile taken from his hair that was found in the burlap, and then the pizza DNA, and those two were compared at a local level at local laboratories without having gone to CODIS, and then they were matched.
Right. So Bill says the exemplar that they took from him can be used, but it can't be entered into CODIS. Listen, that's not what the show's about, but we got into that with some of the questions, and listen, we're at this an hour and 21 minutes. I think it was a great show. We covered a lot. Tommy, anything additional for the audience that these investigators in the car, as it pertains to the cars, the 2012 and the 2002. Ed is now on his phone Googling.
Oh yeah, I'm looking it up.
No, Ed, he is freaked out by that because he's like, wait a minute. Tommy, anything for the audience as it pertains to these two vehicles and the amount of time it's going to take to get what they need to get out of these trucks?
Well, I think most of the evidence that's going to be found, it falls under Ed's expertise. But I wouldn't dismiss, the vehicles playing an important key to this whole case. I would definitely have a vehicle identified. Just go through the vehicle, make sure all the VIN numbers match, make sure everything kind of is the way it should be. Who knows? With all those guns, he might have a trap in the car. If he's a gun nut, maybe he carries a gun with him. So there might be a trap in the car. I would just go through that vehicle, have the forensic download as much information I can, and use outside sources. The OnStar, General Motors would be a good start also on that.
Absolutely. And I'm sure the wheels are in motion with that.
Oh, yeah. They know what they're doing. Suffolk County is doing good.
Yeah, absolutely. And the great part about it is that they have the task force. They have the FBI. They got the state police. And kudos, let's not forget, the state police investigator is the one who homed in on this vehicle based on previous interviews in the case file that weren't followed up in a timely fashion or followed up early on. And that's for a whole nother live stream, but we talked about that. They had some of this information. They had a lot of this information shortly after Amber Costello went missing. And Tommy, the investigators, for whatever reason, and Chief Burke was involved in suppressing information going out to the FBI because he was a little bit of a skell himself, and he was a criminal wearing a uniform, and he wound up getting locked up. But he definitely suppressed this investigation, and I feel like the district attorney and everyone that's in charge now should look back at him, and if he in fact was involved in preventing the apprehension of Rex Heuermann in a timely fashion, he should be locked up, as far as I'm concerned, if they could prove that. And that's a lot to prove. But this guy was a real dirtbag, and they had this information. Kudos to the state investigator who was sharp and on the ball and came into this investigation with fresh eyes, and they went after Heuermann and they locked him up. Ed, did you come up with anything? I took you off because you were looking down.
Yeah, it is. New York State requires conviction, and CODIS has a convicted offender database.
So when did this law go into effect in New York State? Has it been on the books always?
I don't know. I got to look it up. I got to do a deeper dive here.
Yeah,
because I remember when we started doing DNA in the 90s. I don't recall that because the NYPD received a grant from the state criminal justice program to train all of New York State crime scene investigators on DNA and DNA collection and DNA entrance into CODIS and state databases. And I don't recall ever back then in the 90s that was the case, but apparently there's legislation that doesn't allow it to enter until the person is convicted.
Our friend and statistician Kristen said that the law for that in New York went on the books August 1st of 2012.
See,
how about those apples? We'll have to
Mhm.
still look into it and do a double check. Kristen, I love you, but we still have to double check it. So Gina is saying, I loved Tommy Burke's appearance on the show tonight. Will you come back? Tommy, will you come back?
Definitely. Hey, before I do go, though, I want to pay you some compliments, Ron. You said something very important. You mentioned a task force, and I always push, when I talk to other order crime units, if you could form a task force, one mind does not hold all the answers. You have to have like a bunch of people looking at the same topic, and that's how you put it, solve a case. And kudos to Suffolk County for realizing that and putting a task force together to to solve it. So I'm always a strong supporter of a task force in different operations.
Yes, and I'm gonna make a little. Here's a little tip, Tommy. So do you see that little cord that's coming down from your headset? If you could put that behind you, that cord on the side. So
yeah,
that
I'm sure here. You know,
the whole show that's making noise. But
I thought it was your parrot.
No, I figured out that that's what the noise was. Just now. So better late than never. DutyRon just officially solved the problem.
Yeah, look, Ron, look what I have now. It's all new. This is all new stuff.
I love the get up. The audio is great. It sounds good. It's just that thing was scratching up onto your microphone, and it was making some noise. I kept having to mute you and pause you. All right, Ed's got more. Wait, there's more.
There's more. In 1999 in shipping and handling. Yes, August 1st, August 1st, 2012. That's when the law came into effect in New York.
Kristen,
confirmed.
Let's give Kristen. Let's unpack that. Some credit right there.
So I have a lot of forensic friends that are watching the show right now, and they're texting me all of this.
Oh shit! Well, listen, I think it was a very informative live stream. Again, like I said, we have combined between the three of us over 60 years, thanks to Tommy's 39
40,
years.
Almost 40 years.
Right.
Again, Tommy and I came on in the same year. I bailed at 20, and he went the whole 9 yards.
Yes.
You want to hear something sick? I never took a sick day in my whole career.
That is sick. Something wrong with you. Go seek help.
Oh, hell no! Pardon my French, but you're an asshole.
Never took a sick
day. Wow, that's dedication.
Never took one. One sick day.
Were you never sick?
I would get sick on vacation sometimes.
Yeah, but you weren't one of those guys that would come to work hacking and coughing and spewing phlegm all over the place, right?
During COVID, I was like the only person not getting sick. It was
all right. We got to do some genetic testing on you, my friend. You may have like a super immune system.
So
okay?
I cut us short. It's 80 years of police experience between Ed, myself, and Tommy. So unbelievable. I want to say thank you to everybody who has left super chats, who's left positive comments, who will leave comments down below. But what we're going to, all three of us, ask everybody here right now to give this video a thumbs up, share it onto your social media platform, put it out there on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, wherever you have your favorite social media, so we can get lots of the true crime folks who are watching not just this case, but all of the cases, and education on what goes on from the police detective's perspective in all of the various specialties, like auto crime, our good friend Tommy here, like evidence collection with the crime scene unit, Ed Wallace, myself with fugitive enforcement, and all the things that we do to hunt down evil and bring them to justice. So thank you, Tom. What do you got going on up there, Tommy? You keep
I don't know, right? Doesn't it seem like it gets bright and then it gets dark again? I don't know.
It's okay. Maybe up in the mountains where you live, maybe the power grid's not strong.
Maybe the generator needs more gas.
Yeah, I got to go out and put some more gas in the generator.
I'm high testing that bad boy. All right, guys. Guys and girls, on behalf of Crime Time with DutyRon and Ed Wallace, and now our great friend.
But wait, there's more.
DutyRon, Ed Wallace, and our great friend Tommy Burke. We wish everybody a good Wednesday. It's Hump Day, but we want to send prayers, strength, and positive vibes to these victims' families and all of the unsolved cases who are out there that need justice. Let's send our investigators and all of the good law enforcement that are out there doing God's work on a daily basis. So thank you guys all for joining. Ed, you went to the range. I know you want to show it. Hold on, I'll go full screen. Ed went shooting today, and
Wow,
this is
nice.
his target. Look at that. Look at that grouping in the center mass. And what was that? Tic-tac-toe at the head? Ed, you were playing tic-tac-toe?
Well, what ended up happening was I was preparing for the qualification, and so the range instructor kept saying, "How do you expect me to count this if you punch out the center like that?" He says, "Space the bullets out a little bit."
Just to show off.
Funny.
It's
Yeah.
okay. I like the head grouping. That's the most impressive part to me right there.
That's 25 yards, my friend.
Wow. All right.
Yeah, but I'll be honest. I have a laser.
Okay. All right. So that's the secret to Ed's success. On behalf of Ed Wallace, myself, and everybody here tonight, good night from New York. Tommy, thank you again.
No,
Ed,
thank you, guys.
Ed, you have a couple of words that I know you like to say.
Yes. Stay safe. Stay prepared. Watch your six.
Peace, everybody. Thanks for joining. Tommy, hang out for a second. Hang out for a second.
We'll do.
All right. Good night. Good night, guys. Thank you.